we got news here on Pete Hegseth. He says fire everyone in charge. So conservatives railed against the U.S. Military Academy of West Point. I'm not sure if you guys heard about this. On Wednesday, after it was reported that the Academy told a left-wing journalist, of course, that Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, was never accepted into the school, which is false. But, you know, these journalists will believe anything. It's like this. If I said something bad to them about Joe Biden, let's go pull 3 to 8 sources somewhere, make sure we find it. We want to make sure it's not anonymous, right? We got to post those sources' names. I want to make sure I do my due diligence. When it comes to anything bad about Trump, for some ungodly reason, they throw out their entire education where they learn that you need to have multiple sources, credible sources, and actually do some fact checking and real world journalism like we used to see in the 70s and 80s and, get this stuff straight. But they turn a blind eye. It's a weird thing. Like Trump derangement syndrome, it really messes with people and they turn a blind eye to it. You know what I mean? Rather than, hey, why don't you just look at it and hold on for a moment? And do your due diligence. Don't just take something that's negative about Trump and automatically attribute it to truth. Hunter Biden laptop. Hell, the PP hoax tape, Russia hoax, all this stuff completely fabricated. And they are fabricating a lot of stuff about this great man. As reported, the Daily Wire, Hegseth scooped ProPublica, which was preparing to publish a story about Hegseth supposedly lying about getting into West Point. After Hegseth posted a photo of his acceptance letter, ProPublica said West Point's public relations office told them twice on the record that Hegseth never even applied to the academy. Oh, so you sat there, yeah, I made a phone call. That was good enough. Made a phone call. Did it ever occur to these journalists that maybe there's some nut jobs at West Point that work in the records office or the public relations that maybe never Trumpers, that maybe anti-Trump, that maybe have an agenda, that don't care about giving you the truth, that just wanted to push a false story? Maybe that could happen. But don't worry, guys. They called them twice. Yeah, no, they did the due diligence. Yeah. They talked to some freaking secretary that doesn't have a clue what the hell's going on. Yeah. Great job. However, after Hegseth sent the outlet his acceptance letter, ProPublica ignored the story. Oh, why didn't you just call Pete? Shocker. Wow, what a primary source that was. These people went to college. Most likely these journalists went to college. Oh, I'm gonna call West Point. Well, wouldn't you do your due diligence and sit there and make sure all the variables that go into somebody getting accepted that would actually take place here? Wouldn't you just talk to Pete? Novel idea, isn't it? Novel. But we're teaching them here, folks. There might be a journalist in here. We're teaching them, yes. You want to know who's a phenomenal journalist, and I really do mean this, is Philip Wegman. Philip Wegman of Real Clear Politics, that's a real journalist. Not only does his work show it, but the guy looks like a journalist. I mean, there is no person that looks more journalist in that White House press briefing room than Phil. And Phil looks damn good. He's a handsome man, as sharp as a tack, and he does a damn good job, and that's why I like him. And by the way, you guys, I want to be clear. I still to this day don't know if Phil is a Democrat or Republican, and I've always said I don't care. He does his job well, and he's somebody that can be trusted, which I appreciate, because they're few and far between in the freaking media. So trust Phil. Check him out. Real Clear Politics. Great man. We love him here. Quickly, some online question why ProPublica didn't publish a story about West Point, giving them false information. You want to know who those are? Those are the left. Yeah. The reason why the left wanted that, because it gives them ammo to sit there and send it to all their leftist friends and indoctrinate their leftist friends, because it's disgusting stuff. They know it was false. They wanted that false information posted, which is, by the way, disinformation when you know something's false and you still go ahead and post it. This is the left, right? But the left come for us when it's misinformation. The left come for us when it's like, oh, you're spreading disinformation, which shows they don't know what the hell which one's which. West Point was also criticized for what the Academy called an error. Officials at the U.S. Military Academy should not be feeding lies to left-wing reporters about President Trump's nominees. Correct. And who said that? Of course it was Tom Cotton, because he has his head on straight all the time. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. West Point needs to be thoroughly investigated and check out these egregiously bad judgment and potential violation of the Privacy Act immediately. Cotton published a photo of the letter he sent to West Point. Well, good for him. Good for him. Finally, somebody has their head on straight that's sticking up for freaking Pete. You got JD Vance coming into the mix here. You were misled by a bureaucrat. That's actually a story, just not the one you wanted to print. The effort to tank Hegseth's nomination is one of the most coordinated smear campaigns I've ever seen in D.C. You got Stephen Miller here. A journalist would now a journalist would now focus on why the West Point Office of Public Affairs lied to them, as opposed to simply dropping the original story because it didn't pan out the way they wanted. God, it sounds a lot like what Bald Brad was just saying here on the show of, why would you sit there and just assume that they would tell you the truth and not just go to the main primary source, which is the guy himself? I don't trust anybody anymore. I'm not going to sit there and just take a few blanket statements like, oh, this person's good. You don't know who the hell's working in that office. That person might not even have a GED. And not an offense to anybody that doesn't have a GED. All I'm saying is they got into a position that maybe they shouldn't have got into. You also have Sean Davis here. West Point lied to you about the incoming SecDef, and you didn't think it was worth a story? That's not journalism. You were looking to run a partisan hit, and when it failed, you tried to slink away and pretend it never happened. What do we call that? Turning a blind eye. Nothing to see here, folks. Now, this is how sad things have gotten for the media. We have to be thankful that they didn't publish the story. No. We have to be kissing their feet that they didn't publish a story. That's how low this journalism, media, whatever you want to call it, entertainment has gotten, where we're like blown away that they actually didn't publish it, that they're not just sitting there pushing lies like they normally do. Wow. You got Sean here says the real question in the story here is why West Point lied to you, because it seems the motivation was to hurt Pete's chances of becoming SecDef, which in turn could mean a military officer wanted to undermine a president-elect. And this, folks, is precisely why we need Pete. Get rid of the deep state, get rid of all these people, fire them all, get rid of them, lay them all off. Like I said, my first test for Trump, because he said it, my first test for Trump, you said on day one, Mr. President, that you want all the names for those involved in Afghanistan on that botched pullout that Joe Biden decided to wake up one morning and do. And that you're going to fire all of them noon, January 20th. Now, I'm not going to hold them to the time, but on January 20th or 21st, one of those two, because I understand crap's busy that day, but it's time to get to work, Mr. President. I want to see names gone. I want to see people fired. I want to see the biggest firing mass let go I've ever seen in human history on day one. That's what I want to see, because then I know he means business. Then I know we're in for the real deal.